Hey, how's it going? Today I would like to talk about e-waste and what that is. Electronic waste, commonly referred to as e-waste, is the term used to describe discarded electronic devices and equipment that have reached the end of their useful life, or perhaps there's a even better, right, ways of manufacturing in the first place, right? Which is for some reason fell out of favor. It's worth mentioning. One of the ways, or perhaps even a better way of solving any of those problems, perhaps instead of manufacturing phones, that you were to throw away after 2 years, perhaps making them so you can upgrade those phones. There are different projects who are looking at this kind of areas in the industries already, but perhaps worth mentioning, as well as perhaps better buying of better shoes so that you can potentially refurbish, so it will be made from better materials that you can fix instead of throw away. So I don't know if it's covered within this article that I'm about to read, but either way, that's one way to look at it, right? I have it on my board. I'm interested that there might be a lot of opportunities, but to solve any of those opportunities, I can tell you right now, best way to solve that problem is not to create that problem in the first place. So that's my strategy, if anything, my attitude when it comes to solving problems. If you have perhaps problem with some of the administrative staff within your company, perhaps removing all the administrative staff and outsource that to software. You remove that from HR, you remove all HR department, you remove the offices, you improve the efficiency, you improve everything straight away. So coming back to e-waste, right? Upgrading it instead of throwing it away, that's just one way to look at it, right? Uh, are not longer wanted. E-waste encompasses a wide range of electronic devices and electrical items. I have looked at it recently. I have done some research over my time yesterday, but not necessarily limited to that. How it could be refined again, and what will be the process and how it can look like. I have seen a lot of talented people doing a lot of interesting things of how they would refine it, and some of the precious materials that they might find within e-waste and how they can optimize those processes. So there are a lot of interesting things happening, but either way, let's jump into it. Perhaps 10 main components can be computers and laptops, mobile phones and smartphones, televisions and monitors, printers and photocopiers, audio and video equipment, kitchen appliances, home appliances, cameras and camcorders, gaming consoles, very small electronic gadgets and accessories. So there are a lot of different items that can be considered e-waste, and how those some of those technologies would end up in would be bought and sold in the different regions, and how come I would see a tsunami or some of that waste going in the river, someone far away. So how that all that waste end up in different countries? So I'm having so many questions, right? I don't know if this waste been sold to other company to recycle it, and if yes, perhaps there's a lot of opportunities how it can be recycled, as well as if there are any precious metals can be that. So overall, as I mentioned, I have it on my board. Perhaps, if anything, I'm trying to understand and do research what will be the process, and perhaps there might be a lot of opportunities within this space. E-waste is growing concern due to the rapid pace of technological advancements and the resulting obsolescence of electronic devices. Then improperly disposed of e-waste can have determined effects on environment and human health. Become more electronic devices contain hazardous materials like lead, mercury, cadmium, and flame retardant chemicals. If anything, there's one aspect of entire problem, perhaps having better way of manufacturing, if there's anything, as well as looking at different ways how you can manufacture some of the machinery. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to understand people who actually manufacturing, perhaps they already been there, done it. They have tried different areas already. If anything, perhaps what would be the way of better of recycling some of those materials, and perhaps current prices as well as projections for the future. Since our projection for the future of increase of how many fold of what and how we currently handling some of that waste materials, as well as better ways of processing that, as well as perhaps looking at some of the examples there of how other countries are doing it, right? If someone needs, so if myself, right? There are a lot of opportunities, and if I were, or myself, or other businesses would be interested in securing any finance or government backing, right? So if you need to explain to government organizations there who are sitting there, do you need to explain it? Not that you don't know how to do it, you need to explain it. So when you're trying to explain and you're writing down your projects, right, and everything, you need to use an examples, because otherwise need to make sense to those people who usually they are just random people. They don't even know the technical terms. They don't know nothing, right? This is what's stated within terms and conditions. How you send all the supporting documents, right? You need to explain in very simple terms. So then you need to pull out all the examples of different governments, for example, and how those governments are dealing with some of those issues, right? If they are doing it better compared to some organizations that you are looking to submit your projects to. So that's one way how to submit the project, right? You need to take a look at some of the different governments, not necessarily different companies, different organizations, and if there are a lot of opportunities, I don't know if there's any money in that. So that's a problem, right? So if there's more actions within required, so other words, right? Myself, I have been within different manufacturing organizations, right? As well as something that's called virgin material, or something that's called recycled material, right? So myself coming from manufacturing background, perhaps we need to understand a little bit better all the techniques of how we can recycle and make it cheaper. Since working with the virgin material, or virgin, what I mean by that, material that haven't been used yet before, usually it's cheaper. That's a problem. So the cost in there, right? Compared to perhaps working with some of the materials that have been recycled, and the practices that they have undergo, then recycling some of those materials, not necessarily was the best practices, but that would potentially cause a lot of problems. Just to name the few or most important areas would be quality, right? So if you were to use recycled material, you don't want to affect that end product, right? So, so for your customers, that sometimes very hard to acquire those customers in the first place, as well as you would like to maintain the same quality, as well as you trying to think about the environment and best practices. And again, you need to take a look at the full supply chain. To address the challenges posed by e-waste, many countries have implemented regulations and recycling programs to encourage the proper disposal and recycling of electronic devices. Responsible e-waste management includes reusing, perhaps improving, refurbishing if possible, recycling and of devices. Responsible e-waste management includes reusing, refurbishing, recycling. Yeah. And safe disposal of electronic devices to reduce environmental impact and recover valuable materials. This helps conserve resources and mitigate the pollution associated with the e-waste. If anything, and takeaways of that would be perhaps how it can be used in a way where all the materials, if possible, can be reused. So that's one of the obstacles. Most likely, all those people out there, company leaders, have been taking a look at it, as well as I have addressed some of those issues with currently some of the governments banning some of the plastic products. So it's been an ongoing issue, right? So there needs to be more attention, more finance, more infrastructure, so you could use potentially different materials. which potentially, especially in the beginning, can be costly, and that cost should be covered by someone. I have published a book. Name of the book is Game Strategy. In this book, I'm sharing a lot of information for with the people who are interested in starting and launching their own first business. I have focused a lot of my attention on fundamentals of what will be required of starting your own business, as well as I have focused on particular niche that would be a livestock enterprise in particular, and how to achieve first milestone that would be from zero to first 10,000 dollars, euros, pounds, or whatever country you might be located, not limited just to that, but concept that would be where to begin, how to start. I was trying my best to reduce number of pages, if anything. It can be challenging for someone who is not used to reading a lot of material, right? So I was looking at more of those people perhaps who usually focusing on different areas and finish school, finish the reading before, and they need to begin learning, I guess. So you can find this book in the description below, as well as Top Retailers has it. Consumers can contribute to e-waste reduction by considering the longevity and sustainability of electronic products and making purchase decisions. Making decisions or voting with your money. What kind of products or companies you like to support there? Without naming any names, right? I don't want to get any heat from those companies, but either way, so they're operating in the best way possible, when doing what they think is right, or perhaps where the attention is. So if you were as a consumer, you bring more of your attention towards being eco-friendly. I guess that's one way to look at it, and perhaps the company itself should take notice and perhaps adjust accordingly. Decisions and by recycling the old devices throughout authorized recycling programs or facilities. If anything, those devices, again, I don't know. Perhaps they did enough market research to understand some of those top companies, again, what I'm talking about. Perhaps they did enough market research to understand what would be ups and downs, and they have adjusted accordingly, and they review that process every so often, and again they adjusted accordingly. So so I guess that's how to operate business. Thanks for watching. Let's see you next one.